And welcome, folks, to the talk show, Let the Truth Be Told. I'm your host, Pastor David. And, folks, we got a great conversation today. We're going to talk about the city of Chicago and this mayor, whatever, has said he's creating a reparation tax force after his percentages are so low and everybody hate him. He's trying to drag black people back in. So if you ain't got nothing to do, call your friends and let them know you're listening to Let the Truth Be Told Radio. I'm your host, Pastor David. Y'all come on in. Thank you. And welcome, folks, to the talk show, Let the Truth Be Told. I'm your host, Pastor David. And, folks, we got a great show today. We got a great conversation. So if you ain't got nothing to do, you call your friends and y'all get it in. First, let me give all praises to God and my Lord and Savior, Yahshua of Nazareth, who made it possible for me to be here. And I want to welcome all my first-time listeners and regular listeners. Welcome to the show. Well, folks, you see my attire changed. I had a great interview a few minutes ago with Chris Meeks with Next Step Forward. It was a great show. It was a great interview, and we'll be putting it out there. To the American people and preachers across this country, here we go again. Here we go with all this foolishness. Now, see, Brandon Johnson approval rating is like 0.5%. The people here in Chicago don't trust him. He's a liar and a thief. That's what he is. He opened the doors to our city. He brought all the migrants in, and he'd spend upward over $175 million on illegal aliens. Last week, we had Ben Bergquam on our show, and he showed how bad that the city is and how they're treating Black citizens, homeless citizens, veterans down on their luck, living in tents. And at the same time, he's paying millions of dollars for the migrants to stay in swanky hotels, warming centers, giving them cash, house vouchers, giving them all the things that they need to get a foothold in America in the Black community. Now, these same things that Black people have been asking for over 60 years, the Democrats Party's been lying. Well, we can't give you reparations because we don't know how to distribute it. Then Barack Obama had enough nerve to come in and say, Black people don't need reparations. What a clown. Black people put their lives on the line, the inventions that they made. Predominantly everything in this country was invented by a Black man. And so when you start talking about making all these attributes to the United States of America and slavery, the killing, the separation of families, tearing men and women in half, selling our children off, the slavery, the ideas, the values that Black people brought to this country, the inventions. And yet now you want to say there's no way that we can help Black people. There's no way we can give reparations. We can't do nothing because you know what? We need to do a study. Well, they did a study almost 10, 15 years ago with Sheila Jackson. And after the study was done, it was proven that Black people should get reparations. But where they at? Why haven't we got them? Well, the big thing is we do not know how to distribute the reparations. That's what the government's been saying. That's what the cities have been saying. But this is my antidote to distributing the reparations. Use the same formula that you use to give trillions of dollars to illegal aliens who came to our country, who are not even citizens. Use the same ideology that you use when you put them on welfare, when you put them on Social Security, when you gutted out all our programs for the American people, you gave it to the illegals. Now this fool that called himself a mayor, Brandon Johnson, is saying, well, you know what I want to do now? I want to start a reparation tax force. And saying that, let me bring my co-host in here. Hey, y'all, how y'all doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing good.
Listen, y'all, and I got to get y'all thoughts on this. Out of all the stuff that we've seen, you know, here in the city of Chicago, this whole reparation things has been tossed around for years, and nobody ever did it because they said they didn't know how to distribute the money. Well, who should we give it to? Should we give it to those who are actually descendants? No, give it the same way you gave to the illegal migrants who had nothing to do in this country but come and destroy it. What y'all thoughts on that?
Well, you know, actually, reparations is a lineage-based harm. It cannot just be given to any person with melanated skin. And unfortunately, the Democratic Party, the way they operate is they will always want to say, well, if we do it for Black people, we have to do it for everyone. And that's the problem with the Democratic Party. They don't want Black Americans independent because then they won't need them. Exactly. And that's their fear, right? If we're independent, then they can't demand our vote. But if they kind of give us just enough, it was like, I think Angela Stanton King said it best. She was like, you know, she was with this older gentleman and he would give her just enough that she could get her bills paid, but not enough that she could be independent of him. And I think that's just where they are keeping reparations. They don't want to give it to us because they know that we will walk away from them completely.
Dre?
Yes, and you're spot on with your assessment about how reparations has been pushed off by multiple politicians, by multiple administrations. And what has happened is that they don't want to separate their base voters and alienate anyone that's against it. So it's a whole bunch of nothing, a whole bunch of empty promises year in, year out. And we've seen how in situations with the migrant crisis, they've been able to find money from nowhere. So, you know, it's not a we can't do it, is that they don't want to.
Well, guys, the thing that I take offense to, because this reparation can has been kicked down the road for almost 60 years now, in the Black community. The Democratic Party, the gatekeepers, have always had us with the donkey with the carrot in front of his face with the reparation things. Every time that a Black Democratic leader get in trouble with the Black community, the first thing they do is say, guess what? I got reparations for y'all. To get Black people to be emotional enough to think, yeah, my grandpa and all of them suffered and blah, blah, blah. But yet and still, they're not talking about giving actual reparations. They're talking about doing a study to see how and who deserved the reparations. And I think that is so asinine, and that the American people and patriots across this country need to be dealing with this situation, because I feel that this country would not have been the country it is because of the contributions that the Black community has contributed to this country. And so it's a black eye on America now that you're still talking about, well, we need to do studies when you brought illegals over here and you allowed them to evade the Black community. And then you gave them, it's sad. Why haven't they given vouchers? Not no Section 8. I ain't talking about that. Why haven't they given vouchers to these young people living in cars and living in buildings? If you want to do something positive for the American people, Brandon Johnson, why haven't you stepped in and did something for these street kids out here and stop them and give them some kind of directions on what they can become? You're not doing none of that. You're talking about, oh, they're kids, but they need discipline. But the point that I'm making is this. You have not talked about the distribution of respirations, and yet now that you're in the tank and you know you will not be reelected again, you will not be the mayor of Chicago. I'm telling your ass right now, you might as well pack up your bags and get ready to get off the 5th floor, because the people of Chicago is going to vote you out of office.
Yeah.
And how now you have the audacity, I can't say what I want to call you, you have the audacity to act like Black people are so stupid. You gave millions to the migrants and didn't give us nothing. And now you're talking about, well, I'm going to run again for re-election. Good luck, pal. Now you add insult to the injury, talking about, well, I think it's time to start a study for reparations. Y'all, let me play this clip so you can listen to this. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't make sense.
I didn't want to get ahead of you because I definitely have some thoughts about that.
You know, I'm telling you, man, it don't make sense. It's ridiculous. But here he is. Y'all folks, listen to what y'all mayor said 10 months ago.
I apologize for the historic wrongs committed against Black people in Chicago. I stand here today proud to sign an executive order that creates the Reparations Task Force to support the strategy, the implementation, and the engagement of Chicago Black reparations agenda.
Welcome.
Now, hold up right there. I got to stop for a moment. What are your thoughts on that?
It's been done. It's been done in Georgia. It's been done in, let's see, California, right? I think the biggest one was California because the Democrats actually voted the bill down after all that work they had done with a task force. Now here in Georgia, they just kind of put the task force on hold. They haven't moved anything forward because I actually did attend one of the meetings virtually, and then they canceled the last meeting at the end of the year. I haven't heard anything about any upcoming meetings, but unfortunately, a lot of these task force, they've gathered a lot of information in Seattle, Washington. They are moving forward with a measure in their state. I don't know how far they're going to get. They probably won't get to distributions, financial, but that's what they're trying to do. But they always end up in the same pathway that says it needs to be at the federal level and not the state level.
Dre?
And what I've found is we first need to look at the optics. So he's giving a speech on Juneteenth. And what have we seen with these Juneteenth meetings? Oh, yeah, all this African-infused cultural crap. Yes. Like the lady that was sitting next to him is in African garb. Like, this is not for you. That's not for you.
But at least they had the red, white, and blue in the FBA. So I was like, okay, at least you got that part right.
At least they got that part right. Now, my whole problem with this task force is every time we talk about reparations, there has to be a study done. And overnight, when the immigrants came to Chicago, they built an office of New Americans so fast. If he's serious about starting this task force or moving forward with it, he needs to open that office of Black Americans, Office of Freedmen Affairs, whatever they want to call it, but it needs to open. And then they need to write it in so no administration moving forward can touch it. If they do that, then they're serious. If they're not going to do that, then they're not serious. The study, we're past the study. There's many states that have done studies. Boston is currently doing a study right now. There's many states that they can draw from. They need to make sure that it's based on lineage, and they need to open that office of freedmen affairs and let them do their job, which is to confirm who is a freedman and who is not. They can bring paperwork. There's a lot of things that they can bring to prove it. They can do blood diagnostic tests to prove it. There's a lot of ways and models that have already been out there. Let's do it. And let's get the same legal status that the Native Americans have. Like, we are a distinguished group of people.
Yes, we are. And that's the thing that I'm saying too, is because the simple fact is this: it's always, when it comes to making sure the Black community is taken care of, it's always the fact that, well, we can't do it this way because of this dynamic. It always has been the lie, but it has always been used as a study, and millions of dollars have went into these studies. Millions of them. You know, just like he's coming up saying, let's play a little more of this clip, and then we can talk about that.
3, that's the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, announcing an executive order for a new reparations task force in the city. The task force would look for ways to address the policies that have harmed Black Chicago residents from the era of slavery to today.
And the mayor announcing that $500,000 has been set aside for studies towards reparations and restoration. Joining us now is the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson. Thank you so much for being with us.
Hello, thanks for having me. Appreciate the time.
So let's talk about this task force. Exactly how will this task force work?
Well, it's important to first of all lift up the fact that this executive order does a couple of things. Again, it forms this task force with the sole purpose of providing support for strategy, implementation, and engagement around what a Black reparations agenda will look like. It also acknowledges the harm that institutional slavery, Jim Crow, and post-civil rights policies have caused to Black Chicagoans in particular. And
I want to pause it right there for a second. I want to keep this on the screen, but I want to say this. I'm sitting here listening to this guy talking about the detriment that Jim Crow did to Black people. I'm sitting up here listening to this. He's not an idiot. He's past the idiot. He ignorant. Not ignorant, he ignorant. Because he know better, but he's still doing it. He's sitting here trying to buy Black people off to come back to him, to vote for him, by creating not a reparations vehicle for us to get paid, but for just to study.
The words create, develop, identify, examine, and recommend all lead to what is your proposal for reparations. That's it. That's all that amounts to. It doesn't amount to anything that is actually a viable form of reparations or restitution. That means you're not getting the check. Okay. I just need people to understand that all of these words mean they spell equal no check, no restitution. It's just all these are just recommendations. And that's what's been happening all over the country. Like I said earlier, and just like what Andre said, now, like I said, in Seattle, Washington, they've actually gone forth to put together a proposal to possibly get some type of funding or something in their state that's a restitutions vehicle, but that's still not to say that they're going to get it, right?
Yes. Your thoughts, Dre?
Yeah, and I kind of question the timing, because the bullet points up there look good, but like it reminds me of a brainstorming session, like when you're writing a paper, like these are the points that we're gonna hit, but he's missing something. What is the conclusion? What is the timeline? What exactly are they're allocating $500,000? Who's going to get that money, and how long do they have to use the product? Like there's a lot of details missing.
Well, not only the details missing, that is how it has always been for the Black community when they start talking about reparations.
Yes.
Barack Obama left so many details out. He just said we didn't need them. And that was a farce. Every time It never fails. Every time the Democratic Party get into a place where they're losing like they're losing right now, Brandon Johnson approval rating is down to like 0.001%.
Yeah.
Okay? He will never be the mayor of Chicago, and nobody's going to vote for him. So this is all, see, Brandon Johnson is only running the Chicago in physical appearance. See, it's behind the scenes. It's the Barack Obamas behind the scenes. It's the J.B. Pritzkers and them behind the scenes, trying to help him build his reputation up so that they can try to cheat to get him back into office.
Yeah.
That's the only way that Brandon Johnson will get back into office is if he cheats. Because the people in Chicago, he is out. He's finished. I'm telling you, just like I told Lori Lightfoot that she was finished. Lori Lightfoot was finished. Brandon Johnson, you are finished. Only ignorant black people will vote for you and put you back in the office to finish destroying our city. Let's read a little bit more of this. Every time he talks, man, it's all a big lie. It's all a shield to make people think he's doing something. And I'm offended by the fact that he's talking about what's done happened in the past, the atrocities of black people. You starting that kind of crap, but you ain't talking about the atrocities that you just brought to the black community. Yeah. That doesn't make sense. To the people, to American people in this country, why would black people in Chicago go vote him back into office in the event to think, well, Brandon said he was going to give us reparations after the study? It's not going to happen. We need to understand he's nothing but a carpetbagger, a liar, and a thief, and we're going to get him out of office come 2027.
Yeah.
This force ultimately has the responsibility to do 4 or 5 things. One, it has to, first of all, have a real complete analysis around the policies that have harmed black Chicagoans. 2, it has to have a real commitment to engage and educate the public. 3, it has to identify where there actually can be redress, whether it be around education, healthcare, housing.
Now, Mayor Johnson, how will you define success in this endeavor, and what roadblocks do you expect to encounter?
Well, that's another one of the goals of the task force, and I should have mentioned that earlier, that part of the task force responsibility is to actually come up with a clear definition and framework around reparations. The success will ultimately be determined by how we implement the recommendations that come directly from Chicagoans. Look, over the course of decades in the city of Chicago, public schools have been closed, public housing has been shut down, pensions have been raided, those dollars have been delivered over to corporations to line their own pockets. I mean, those are just some of the examples of how these policies have harmed black Chicagoans.
I have to ask you more about the crime that's happening in Chicago. It's, makes headlines all across the country on a regular basis. How are you addressing that violence in your city? And are you at all concerned about protests this summer as the Democratic convention is going to be there?
Well, I'm really excited about the Democratic convention. I've said from the very beginning.
Okay. I can't take. I got to take this.
Wow, everything that he said, they did.
They did to the.
They did that to the black community. They closed down schools. They raided pensions. I was like, you did all of that by allowing these illegal people in your city. Because guess what? You could have said. You could have said no. You had every opportunity to say no, but your governor and you are working together. You're in a city. You don't run the county. You don't run Cook County.
Nope.
A lot of these task force are county based. They're not city based. You're not going to be able to do anything for these people. You can go, Dre.
Dre.
Yeah, and tell us what you're doing without telling us. Right? He's giving us all these examples of issues that have happened in the past, and
right.
A lot of the stuff he's doing with his policies on immigration, and it's interesting how he's decompartmentalizing everything that's happened to black people and not taking responsibility for his own policies, immigration policies that have harmed Americans.
Well, that's the reason why we do what we do at this network, is we make sure we put out what people say, because they know that a year or so later that the American people sometimes forget what they've said in the past. And it's media outlets like us that have to keep bringing this back to the forefront to the American people, because how can you even fathom all the things that he said that have happened to Black people? He doing it right now.
Right.
He oppressing Black people from changing the sanctuary city law. He took millions of dollars and gave it to illegal people. He gave them houses. He done everything that he should have did for Black people.
Yeah.
Why would you need to do a study on how to distribute? Why would you take $500,000 and that's no money?
Right.
Why would you take $500,000 to do a study on how to distribute reparations to Black people when you just distribute probably more than 175 million, close to $1 billion? $1 billion. Let me be clear, Brandon, because I know what you're doing. There was $1.7 billion they had left over from COVID. $1.7 billion. It disappeared. It ain't been found yet. Nobody has found that $1.7 billion because this ass done stole it. That's what's done happened. It's done went away. It's all gone. And then to add, like I said, now you're talking about, well, you know, we need to go head on and create a study and how we can do these things. Well, the study is already out there. Like I said, the people of Chicago, he got to go. He got to go.
Yeah.
He really got to go because he doesn't have the Black community best interests at hand. He ain't put one penny in the Black community. He's not worried about crime. He's not trying to stop it. The teen takeovers, he has nothing in place for these young people. Most of them just need a beating. They need to be at home.
They need a whooping.
They need a whooping. You standing around out here, you burning tires and you jumping and you hollering. I guarantee you, give me 2 weeks with them. That's all I need is 2 weeks. They'll be saying, yes, sir. No, ma'am. Yes. I want to do what I'm supposed to do. You wouldn't have to worry about that. Because of the lack of discipline, we see what we see. And he upholds that kind of stuff. To the people of Chicago, this is ridiculous. This man does not have our community best interests at hand. He is not going to give us reparations, but he want to lie just like Barack Obama did, Hillary Clinton. All of them lied. Bush, all of them lied about reparations and what they were going to do for the Black people. And guess what? The only thing we got was illegals. They spent money. They brought crime to our community. They killed citizens. You gave them houses. You gave them everything. And now all you want to do is give a study on how to help Black people after all the atrocities that you did. Now you're talking about the atrocities that happened to Black Americans in our country over the history. I'm going to play with some more and we can discuss it and get out.
To make sure that there are peaceful and safe protests, while also making sure that we have a vibrant, energized convention that's going to ultimately launch President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris back into the White House for another 4 years to continue to invest in working people.
Mayor, before we let you go, you've recently expanded the Emergency Supplemental Victims Fund that provides families who've lost a loved one to gun violence with $1,500. But how are you ensuring and assuring the citizens of your city of their safety?
How I'm approaching this is from a very working class standpoint. I'm the first mayor in the history of Chicago to wake up and go to bed in one of the most violent neighborhoods in the city of Chicago. I'm raising my family on the west side, my wife and I, 3 children, and I can tell you it grips our hearts every single day when we see the loss of life. But this is not something that intimidates me. We're going to continue to work to bring everyone together, the business community, the philanthropic community, community-based organizations, full investment from my administration, making sure we're holding people accountable, but also making sure that we're creating opportunities for the people of Chicago. That's how we secure a better, stronger, safer Chicago.
All right, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, thank you for your time.
Okay.
Wow.
Your thoughts on that?
I got a question for you, Pastor Lowery.
Yes, sir.
So some of the footage is during the DNC, and I was wondering, do we have an update about anything that they've done with the study?
Nope. Nothing. I was looking for it.
Okay.
This is crazy.
Okay, we are 4 months away from his initial announcement, because his announcement was roughly around August,
Yes.
right? Because that's when the Democratic National Convention happened. And to your point, Andre, crickets for nothing. I haven't. You know some people in Chicago. I know a few people in Chicago. They haven't talked about it. They would have posted it on X. They would have had space about it. There has been nothing.
This will be national news because right now Boston is really taking a serious approach and having like presentations made about from like Tufts University, Boston College. They're doing interviews about it. They're having meetings with community members to make sure they're educated. All those educational tools that Brandon was talking about, they're creating tools in Boston for real.
Well, Brandon hasn't created anything. All he did was create another lie to the citizens in the hope that Black people get emotional to trust him.
Right. Where's the money? Who got the money? Where's the $500,000?
Yeah, I think that's going to individuals that are going to support him in his reelection.
Exactly. That's where that money is
going to. That money is not going to the actual community, because if it was, we would have heard from the community by now.
And that's why I'm upset, because the lie. He has no intention on really doing the study. He just allocated $500,000 for one of his friends who's gonna give him a kickback from the study to come out with the same stuff that Sheila Jackson came out with. He is not even talking about what Andre is saying. He's not talking about the study. He's not investing enough money to even make it seem like that they can do a study. $500,000 is nothing. That ain't gonna get you what you need. And really, it's a joke. It's a joke, for the simple fact is that he doesn't have any intentions to take it back. He doesn't have any intentions on putting any money into the Black community. He's going to continue to take money out the Black community and give it to the illegals. And that's why he has robbed all the economic programs that we had here in the city, the Grant Block Fund. You're talking about the Rental Assistance Fund. Right. All of those funds have been taken that could assist American citizens. Money for the West Side and South Side infrastructures. He done took that money and gave it to the illegals. So we're talking about over $1 billion he's given to the illegals, and yet not one penny has went to the citizens of Chicago. And now here it is. He's talking about this study, not giving reparations, but a study to try to make Black people think he's doing a good job and he's gonna get us some money.
Yeah, he's not. No. It's a ruse. It is definitely political fodder. He just wants to try to garner votes and support, which he's not going to get. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, everybody knows you're a liar. You've lied. You've continued to lie. You've completely abused all the aldermen. The aldermen, they need to really be, I don't want to say shaking in their boots, but they're not going to get reelected either. They are all up for removal. We're going to see a completely different Chicago in 2027.
Well, and I hope they actually run people that are going to do what they say they're going to do,
right?
And uphold policies that reflect what the people want. Because at times, you have people coming in from these organizational machines like the teachers union, and they plant people in with their money, and they go in there, they make promises, and then they do exactly the opposite. Just like we saw with Lowery Lightfoot, just like we saw with Mayor Brandon Johnson. So I hope that the people put in people that are going to be, that they can hold accountable and have a record of doing what the people want.
This is just another sham to the American people and patriots across this country, to the citizens of Chicago and the citizens of the state of Illinois. Brandon Johnson is not going to put one penny into our community, Black folks. Y'all better get ready. J.B. Pritzker is not going to put one penny, because they're the ones who are stealing the money from the taxpayers. They're the ones who are stealing the money from the migrants and creating all this program to get money from them when they're putting the money in their pockets. And so we should know better now. This is a desperation Hail Mary pass like we talked about before. We know the Democrats, because he said, well, when Joe and them get back in office. Joe and them didn't get back in office. The American people spoke, and they voted him out. They voted Kamala out, and she lost by over 15 million votes or better. 15 million votes.
Yeah.
So what President Trump is doing for this country is what the American people want, and that's what we should stay the course of what he's doing so we can get this country back on track. Dre, I want to ask you something now.
Okay.
For y'all. President Trump has been in office for 100 days. It's on today, I believe, 100 days. And since he has been in office, what are your thoughts on him fulfilling what he said he was going to do to make this country get back on track?
He closed the border. He has secured it. And from the perspective of immigration, he has done an excellent job. Now, there have been questions about due process. They've been arguing about how he can deport people and, you know, their court dates and their day in court. But essentially, he's done what he's promised on the immigration policies. And it shows. And people right now at 50, he has a 55% on approval rating on his immigration policy. And, you know, that's what Americans voted for. So if people have questions about what he's doing on any of his policies, then they need to get with Congress and create long-term legislation. Because without the long-term legislation, then we're going to have these pendulum swings from administration to administration. And what has happened is that Congress has decided that they're not going to vote on immigration because none of them want the smoke. None of them want to have a bad vote on immigration or what can be deemed to be a bad vote on immigration. And what has happened is that many of these elected officials are not doing their job. Can you guys imagine if a housekeeping supervisor decided that they weren't going to strip and wax a floor because they didn't want to have the situation where they did a bad job and it was on their record that they did a bad job? The floors wouldn't look good. It wouldn't have the floors wouldn't be as clean, and it would be a whole situation, and that employee would be fired. Why aren't we holding the elected officials to the same standard? They need to be fired. They need to be removed. If they're not going to vote on immigration, they need to be removed.
Right.
Doc?
Yeah, he's done that. You know, Dre, thank you so much for bringing up immigration. And I think a lot of these court dates that these individuals had, I believe that they are void and voidable because they claimed that they were refugees. They claimed that they were seeking asylum, and those were lies. And so they perjured themselves, right? Trying to say that they should be here because they were fleeing their country, and they came here illegally. The prior administration, along with our Congress, allowed it, wrote bills on it, the CARE Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, Build Back Better, set aside over $500 million to facilitate it. You know, there are a lot of people that need to go to prison, and they are literally hiding in the shadows. I mean, some of them are coming out to support illegals, like we've seen the one through El Salvador, who was not found guilty, not by one, but two judges, deported, and they are going to El Salvador demanding this person's release. For what? He's still deported. He still can't come back here. He's still here illegally. I don't understand this. And then insult to injury with the men and women's sports, they are still dying on this hill. I don't get it. Men should not be in women's sports. A man who says he is a woman is not a woman. He is a man. He does not have ovaries. Okay?
You're right.
And that's it. That's what we're doing. Even if you decide to go through full Monty and remove your equipment, you still don't have ovaries. You still do not have a uterus. You were not born a woman. And now they want to say in the military, well, why can't we be on the military? You know why? Because it's a contract. And according to the contract, you have to be what's on your birth certificate. Just because you change your birth certificate doesn't mean that you are changed. Period. If you were born a man, you can't all of a sudden say, I'm a woman, but you've signed a contract with the federal government saying that you're a man. You don't get to just change it. It would void your contract and you would have to move from the military because you backed out. First of all, you should be court-martialed. Okay.
The deception and finding paperwork. You committed fraud by doing what you did.
We are living in downtown crazy land because people want to go to Tesla dealerships and have vandalism saying that that's a protest. That's not a protest. I'm sorry. We've got men that want to be in women's sports. The first day in office, President Trump had to declare that there were only two genders.
Yes, I'm glad you said that.
Why should he have to do that? My husband and I talk about this all the time. He's like, he shouldn't have to do that. He goes, that's low on his totem pole, but he does. Now he did another executive order a few days ago saying that if you're a truck driver, you have to know how to read, write, and speak English.
Yes.
Why should he have to do that? But he does, because that's the time that we're living in.
How are people passing the book portion of the driver's test?
Yes, if you can't speak
English. And here's the thing: you might be able to pass the driving part, but driving a semi truck is a technical skill.
Yes.
You need to know the rules of the road, and a lot of these people have come from countries that have different rules. They don't even know the rules of the road or how to operate the truck. So how this should be a no-brainer, but like you're saying, Dr. Nichols, he has to do common sense legislation because we've been operating with nonsense.
Right, but where's our legislatures?
Yeah.
Hello, House, Senate, you have a job.
Yep.
And you're fired. Like, I'm sorry. All of you are fired. I know there are people out there, well, I like this person. That's great. They need to be fired too.
Yeah.
Because you didn't shut this down. Okay, you got a Republican House and Senate right now. I don't know where these House members are and these senators are, but they need to do their jobs or they're fired in 2026. You're fired.
Yep.
Well, take the word house and put the N word behind it, and that's the reason why we got these problems. Okay,
come on, come on.
This is what I want to say to the American people and patriots across this country watching this show, especially to Black citizens. See, I've been doing a study myself, and I've been studying for the last 60 years. I've been looking at the Black community, and I want to ask Black people one question that's watching this show. I want to ask you to do one thing. Go out into your community that you came from, no matter what state it is, whether it's Illinois, New York, California, New Jersey, wherever there's a Black community, go into the Black community and see if it has changed. Go to the Black community to Rock Island, Illinois, and see if Rock Island has changed. Come to Chicago in the Black community. Matter of fact, wherever you live at, Black people, go out into your community and see if it has changed, if it has gotten better, if the Black community creating economics, are the Black politicians, has the Black community grown? And Black people, walk out of your door, walk down your block here in Chicago, and tell me why you see abandoned houses and vacant lots and children standing on the corner and gangbanging and shooting and killing. Has it changed? Has the Democratic Party changed it like they told you they was going to change it 60 years ago? Every time one come and get in office, they say, well, Black people, we're going to help you. Go look at your community. Go look at your schools and look at your children. If nothing has changed, it has gotten worse. Our children are worse off than it was 60 years ago. We have nothing. Now, all of a sudden, when it get close to election time, we got to come up for reparations. We doing this, we doing that. Trust us. Don't trust no Republicans. But it was President Trump in these 100 days who have written more executive orders than any other president in the history of this country. And what he's doing for the American people, he's bringing us back to normalcy. I was so happy when he wrote the bill that said there's only two genders. Now, see, to y'all fake pastors who accept the LGBT, y'all already done came against God. All y'all walking around here with these homosexuals jumping up and down in the choir, poisoning your children at the church. If the Bible said it's an abomination, Leviticus 20:13, a man to lay with another man in the fashion of a woman, how can you go against what God said? And to the pastors, we need to stand up against this. But even the people who are going to the church, whose pastor go along with the LGBT, you at the wrong church. Guys, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, they did that. They actually put together a whole commercial supporting Kamala Harris and included the LGBTQ community. And there were a lot of high-profile artists, musical artists, pastors, and high-profile individuals within the Black community. What I don't get is how they've allowed someone's sexual orientation to be juxtaposed to a civil right. And using Black people, and I mean this, you use Black people to elevate yourself into a specialized people or specialized, block of persons to get specialized laws and treatments. That totally goes against our Constitution. You can't do that, but you did it. And, these spiritual leaders and a lot of people, are walking away from the Black church, even though it doesn't look like it. It's happening because they see that this is like, you are not godly. None of this is godly, none of it. And you cannot try to juxtapose it and make it seem like, oh yeah, we need to be doing this politically and we need to be, supporting LGBTQ. It's like, no, even Jesus said, give to God what is God's and gives to Caesar what is Caesar's. And he did not accept people's behavior. He had mercy on them that they would one day turn. He gave them grace to actually repent for their sins. He did not go along with their sins.
Yes. He said the wages of sin is death. In order to avoid the wages of sin, you have to repent from your sins. That means you have to stop doing the things that you're doing that is sinning.
Yeah.
That's what that means. There is no compromise what Christ said. Everybody, he said love. Yeah, he said love. But he said if you sinning, you need to change and repent. And people want to love Christ, but they don't want to repent from their sins. And that's what the problem we're having. And that's why when Joe and them got in after Barack Obama got the same-sex law passed, that was their whole mission, was to inundate the American people with the homosexuals lifestyle, to force it on us, force it in our schools, force it on our children, and make it seem normal when it's not normal. These first 100 days to the American people and patriots across this country, I want to tell you this now. Don't listen to CNN reports. Don't listen to CNN. Don't listen to MSBCN, whatever the rest of these stations are, Channel 7, ABC, NBC. You cannot trust them. For the simple fact is, the real poll is the American people supporting what President Trump is doing in these first 100 days. These news outlets are giving you a bad report, giving guys like Brandon Johnson fuel to come to us with a damn lie like he gonna give us reparations by having a study first that's already been done. Your thoughts on that, guys?
All right, I'll let you take this one, Dre.
Yeah, so you guys have brought up some amazing points about policies, and a lot of these policies are not helping Black Americans. And what we're seeing is our communities are not holding people accountable. And that's why we need shows like the Let the Truth Be Told to educate and provide people with information and references that they can look up on their own to see what's actually happening politically. Pastor Laura, you mentioned that if you go back to your community and you don't see that anything has changed, that's a whole problem. Well, many Black people are seeing changes, but they're seeing that they're being displaced, replaced, and that they're losing space.
Not wrong.
They're losing jobs, and they're wondering, how did all this happen? Like, I remember when I was in high school, I started working in the tobacco fields when I was in the middle school. And by the time I got to high school graduation, I saw less and less Black Americans working in the field, and they were being replaced by the Hispanic community. And this is what we're seeing now. We're losing our neighborhoods. We're losing even more wealth, more generational wealth over time due to a lot of these different policies. And if people don't wake up and start pushing to receive what is due to our communities, then we're going to be replaced, and we're going to be talking about the same thing 10 to 15 years from now.
Doc, you said something about the military. Let's play this clip and you can see what our military looks like before President Trump did these executive orders.
Not left. You will not cry. You will learn by the numbers.
Happy Pride. Happy Pride Month. And actually, let's declare it a summer of pride.
So you're a killer? Sir, yes, sir. Let me see your war face. Sir, you got a war face? Ah! That's a war face. Now let me see your war face. Ah! Bullshit. You didn't convince me. Let me see your real war face. Ah!
I hear it and I know, I know you wanna take.
You will be a weapon. You will be a minister of death, praying for war. But until that day, you are puke. You are the lowest form of life on earth. You are not even human fucking being. You are nothing but unorganized, grabastic pieces of amphibian shit.
How to abracadabra, these bitches know I got answers the way I.
It looks to me like the best part of you ran down the crack of your mama's ass and ended up as the brown stain on the mattress. I love working for Uncle Sam.
I love working for Uncle Sam.
Let me know just who I am.
Lets me know just who I am.
1, 2, 3, 4, United States Marine Corps.
1, 2, 3, 4, United States Marine Corps.
Now.
Yeah, because that's what they're doing. I'm like, what are you doing? You don't need to be in the military. If you want to be a drag queen, be a drag queen. I don't want to have men in the military running around like they're women. Stop that.
It is such a, it is, listen,
no,
that's the reason why the enlistment for soldiers have went down the tube.
Yes.
It went down the tube because when Joe Biden got into office, they created a situation to where if you're a homosexual and you get put into the military, they want the government to pay for their sex change operations.
Yeah,
that's why they're there.
Yeah, and Rachel Levine needs to be arrested because this individual encouraged children to literally become eunuchs and destroy themselves, right? And she should, and that person, I'm not going to call that person a she, that person should have the title stripped of being the first female to hold that position. That was not a female, that was a man in a dress, period.
It really was.
They need to reverse that.
Your thoughts,
President Trump, if you're listening, reverse
it.
Well, I think they're on the way to reversing a lot of this. And my thought about this is they made a policy decision to put these group of people to the forefront. Yes. And the purpose of the military is to protect the United States and be the best fighting force in the world. And I don't care what you do when you're at home, but when you're coming to the military, we shouldn't be worried about sex change policies and supporting those things. We shouldn't be promoting, you know, sexual orientation, and frankly, we shouldn't even be focused on some of the historical things that they were bringing. They eliminated a lot of these celebrations of holidays because they want them focused and drilled in, dialed in to protecting the country. And as long as you're dialed in to protecting the country, I don't care who you are or what you do on your personal time. Just come to work. Just come to work and represent the United States like you have some sense.
Well, you know, that is the thing too. And I don't want the LGBT group to think that I'm picking on you. I'm not. But what I am saying is what you've done under the Democratic leadership has been a travesty to the American people. You forced your lifestyle on everybody. You made sure that you put it in the schools to mess our children head up by indoctrinating them. And then you want us to really accept your lifestyle, but you're forcing it in everybody's lives. And I think that's wrong. And I think when President Trump, there is no such thing as a transgenders. For all of y'all transgenders, you do not exist anymore. When President signed that paper, when he signed that paper that said that there's only two genders.
That's it.
And that's why I say, and I support him, because that's righteousness. That's following what God said. God said he created a man and a woman. He didn't create no other group that says that if I'm a man, I can turn into a woman and vice versa. So what President Trump has done in his first 100 days has been for the betterment of this country, not just with the transgender things, but you're talking about he's making China and everybody else pay up for tariffs that they should have been paying this country before. Now all of a sudden China done broke. They said, okay, we ready to talk. But the Democratic Party and the media want the American people to believe that President Trump did the wrong thing with the tariffs. And now look what's happening. They've broken. They're going to do what they're supposed to do. If Joe Biden had did that, Barack Obama had did that, if Bill Clinton had did that, this country would be in a great condition. But they didn't do that. With NAFTA, they destroyed the businesses in the United States. They've done so much other stuff against the American people and patriots across this country. What it's called throw the rock and hide your hand. And let me tell you what that means. My father told me about that a long time ago. He said what the Democrats are doing, they're actually committing all the crimes against the American people through the government. But what they're doing is saying, it's not us. Now, we just saw what Brandon Johnson lied to everybody, talking about how bad that it was back in the day when everybody was dogged out, and how the legislators was against black people and how they didn't treat black people right. And everything that he said that the government did to black people, he doing it to black people right here in the city right now.
Right.
So these are the type of leaders that we have to get out of office. They're liars, they're thieves. They will say anything. They will say anything just to try to put themselves in a position so that they can stay in office. And once they get in office, they continue to destroy this country every way that they can by instituting all of this new world order stuff, what they're doing, how they doing it, how they want to change us, how they want to sex change our children, take away parents' rights. All of these things have been done under the Democratic leadership. Brandon Johnson has been part of it with the Democrats. And I'm telling the American people and patriots across this country, let us continue to support President Trump and what he's doing, because what he is doing is bringing our country back to when the citizens ran the government, and he's putting the power back into the people. You guys, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I really do like what President Trump is doing, you know, and I wish, this is my wish list through him, that we could establish a new form of government and really start holding the politicians accountable that we know are breaking laws, so they can be arrested and they can be tried. You know, we did have tribunals earlier in the birth of our country. And we need to get back to that. We need to get back to holding people accountable, because right now, people go, well, politicians, they just lie. What can you do? Well, we can do a whole lot.
Yes.
Because the last time I checked on that Constitution, it says we the people. Okay.
Exactly.
It didn't say we the Congress. It didn't say we the House of Representatives, we the House of Senate. It says we the people. We actually determine what happens. And unfortunately, because they've been put in positions of authority, they think they can dictate to us. That's not how this works. And they need a referendum. Like I said, each and every House and Senate representative needs to be replaced. I don't care if you like them or not. They need to go. We need to have a whole freshman Congress, House and Senate. And I'll let it there.
Your thoughts, Dre?
Yeah, absolutely. I do think that we definitely need to hold elected officials accountable. And what has happened in these first 100 days is a shaking of our institutions. There's been a shakedown, and people have been held accountable. And it's making a lot of people on either side of the ideological spectrum question and make them very uncomfortable about what's happening. I think America has asked for this shakedown, and we're seeing the results. And there's been a lot of great changes that have happened. If people do not want to see these type of changes happen in some of the policies, then they need to hold Congress accountable. They need to ensure that they're voting on bills or creating legislation as they are supposed to do for their responsibility as it's laid out by our Constitution.
Yeah.
I want to say this to the American people and patriots across this country, especially Black Americans. I want to take you back down the memory lane in the 70s and in the 80s, when the Black communities was prospering, when we had great jobs and we were sending our kids to college. Everything was affordable in our community. We had Black businesses in place. All of these things is what we need to return back to. We need to have our communities back. We don't need Habib down at the corner store selling bad goods. We don't need Ching Chong over in the place selling hair and all of these things. We don't need all of these people in our community because they're parasites. I can go nowhere. I can't go to Little Italy and sell soul food because they'll run me out of there. I can't go.
Not wrong.
I can't go to Little Mexico and open up get me a cart and sell food in there. Man, they would run me out of there.
Yes,
but think about
Not even
this.
a food truck.
Think about this. Black people, ask yourself, why doesn't Black people own the stores and the businesses in their own community?
Come on.
Black people, ask yourself, why is it that we are not teaching our children what they should know? Why is there no Black history in the schools so our children can have a future to know where they came from in the past?
Right.
We have to start asking ourselves these questions. Why is our community still run down, still the same way it was 60 years ago after Dr. King was killed? Why haven't the Black community progressed? You see no economic development in the Black community nowhere across this country, nowhere.
Yeah.
So how can we continue down this road and do the same thing and expect a different outcome? It's just not going to happen. We need to stand firm. We need our own party, but we need to continue to research and look for ways to become independent of either party.
Yes.
The Black community should not be all in one ball, in one basket. We shouldn't. Every year we should examine who is the best candidate. That's the person we put our votes behind, or better yet, we can have our own party and run our own candidates, because we still the number 2 minority in this country, whether you want to believe it or not.
Right.
We still number 2. The Mexicans ain't got there yet because the Mexicans was hoping that the illegals could stay in the country to vote them to number 2. See, so there's hidden agendas about everything that's happening in this country.
Yeah.
The Hispanics, yeah, some of them voted for Trump, but a lot of them embraced those illegals, and right now they're hiding them in their communities as if they're citizens. So Black people, we need to unify. We need to get our own stuff. We need to be self-sufficient. We have all the talent in the world. We need to take care of ourselves. We need to get everybody out of our community, and we need to start rebuilding. We're going to get rid of Brandon Johnson. Every alderman that's in the city of Chicago needs to be replaced.
Yes.
Doc, your last words. We got to get out of here.
Yes, well, thank you for mentioning that we definitely need a new party. And for those looking for a new party, just remember when you see all of these things happening, look up for your redemption is drawing near, and definitely check out the Redemption Party at usaredemptionparty.com. We are looking for candidates to be servants of the people, not politicians, and also members of the party. We are registered and filed with the FEC, which means we can run in any state around the country, including Hawaii. So again, check us out at usaredemptionparty.com.
Doc, we'll be saying you have a great day. Dre, your last words, bro.
Yes, Pastor Lowery, you're right. We are the number 2 minority. We're around 14% of the population in the United States, and actually Hispanics are around like 17%. So they have surpassed us population-wise, and part of that is through rapid growth, but part of that is through policies and having a lot of people come to the United States through mass immigration. What is going to happen if we continue on that track is that they're going to eventually have a higher population than everybody. And they're predicting that to happen in like between 2040 and 2060. So not too long from now if we keep on that track. So what Numbers USA is doing is saying that we should moderate the amount of immigration that we have, that we should have less or lower immigration numbers. So if you feel like you want to learn more about how you can contribute to lower immigration numbers, you can come to numbersusa.com. You can look at what we're doing at the hiring line department, where we're going out and we're educating people about the policies, whether it's at HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities, or we're going to community organizations and discussing the policies of the day, the history of the policies of the past, and how we can make improvements.
You know, Dre, that is so important. And we're going to make sure that we keep our people informed about these type of things. And like I said, folks, if you want some research, you can reach out us here at 708-663-52. You can go to Numbers USA, contact Mr. Barnes, look at the data. See, that's what we need to do as people. We need to start looking at data and then make good, solid decisions for solutions for our community. Thanks, Dre. We'll be talking. God bless you. We'll be talking soon. Folks, I want to thank you for tuning in to the show. I want to say this to Black people. Black people, we have been made a fool out of. They've been making fools out of Black people for years, on top of years. They've been lying about this reparation thing, and every time a Black political leader gets in trouble, he bring out reparations, and not the fact that he want to give reparations or fix the damage. The Black community was damaged. The Black race has been damaged by slavery and hatred and discrimination. No other race on the face of this planet has experienced that. The Irish didn't experience it. The Italians, the Mexicans, nobody has experienced this terrible thing that slavery caused. And I'm saying to the American people and patriots across this country, it is time for us to be one America. White America, Chinese America, we're all our Americans. And if the Black community is suffering like this, then we should be a team working to help the Black community prosper. But the problem with that is people will not help you if you don't help yourself. And with the poor Black leadership in the Black community, That's the reason why other races are not going to help the black community, because the black leadership will not do what they're supposed to do to rebuild the black community. And until then, until all of these house Negroes, politicians who are in office, like I told you, go look outside your door and honestly tell yourself that the black community is progressing. If you look outside your door and you say we have not advanced, then it's time to get new leadership. God bless you. I want to thank you for tuning in. Share the show. Me with a lie. I'll get with y'all. We'll see y'all guys tomorrow. Enjoy your day.